All right, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from the Fatheads Brewery, and they're out of Middleburg Heights, Ohio, and this is their Wet-Hopped Head Hunter IPA. So they're calling this one a Wet-Hopped IPA that comes in at 7.5% alcohol by volume, 80 IBUs, and at the time of review, this can is approximately 1 month old. So we have the wet-hopped version of Fatheads Classic Headhunter IPA. Now, I reviewed the base Headhunter back in the channel's infancy, back in the summer of 2018, and I've had that beer numerous times before, and it's not one of my favorite beers. This is more of like a West Coast IPA, and back 5 years ago and even before then, I was not a huge fan of West Coast style IPAs. Now, I feel like I'm going to enjoy this one a bit more than the base and a lot of other beers that I had 5 years ago that were West Coast IPAs, because my palate kind of wants bitterness nowadays. So I'm thinking I'm going to enjoy this one quite a bit. So I'm really excited about it. Now, when it comes to the base Headhunter, that was like just a very hyped and highly sought after a beer going back a good, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. I had a couple friends here in the Buffalo, New York area that would actually do the 6.5 hour round trip drive to bring back cases of Headhunter because we didn't get distro here. Now they're on the shelves in grocery stores here in the Buffalo, New York area, so it's pretty cool. And as far as hops for this one are concerned, Simcoe, Citra, Centennial, Mosaic, and Chinook. So let's crack this one open and get it into the glass and see what we got going on here with their wet-hopped Headhunter. So really excited about it though. Going to be somewhat clear, probably have a decent haze to it, but this is old school beer. This is not your haze bombs. This is going to be more of your west, like they call it. I think the base Headhunter on their website, they call it like a West Coast, I think West Coast-style IPA. So yeah, I mean, it has a good clarity to it. You can't make out like specifically my hand behind it, but a little bit. Hold it up to the light here. Yeah, it has like this slightly cloudy, slightly, hazy, bright orange color. On camera's probably look a little bit more dull. Very slow carbonation, about almost a 2-finger of an off-white, almost eggshell white colored head. Looks pretty creamy with a little bit of a soap sudsy vibe, but looks really nice. Let's get a nose. Wow, that smells so good. Holy shit. There is just an insane amount of citrus. I'm getting candied orange and grapefruit, but not candied in the way that you're thinking, more just like a really like oversweet kind of citrus fruit. Oh, that smells awesome. Then I'm getting nice loads of like crushed pineapple. And then a big like piney floral kind of nose from the hops as well. This smells extremely fresh. It's only a month old, using wet hops. Yeah. Oh, underlying little bit of a touch of like a bready caramel kind of malt base. It just goes candied orange, grapefruit, like ruby red grapefruit with sprinkled sugar on top, crushed sweeter pineapple, pine, floral, maybe a little bit of like a peach. Oh, this smells so good. Holy shit. I just want to sit here and smell this. This smells so... Back in the day when I got like a fresh flower power from Ithaca, that's kind of how this smells, like this smells like this beer is like less than a week old. It just has an aroma that I associate with super fresh, old school American IPAs, West Coast IPAs. It just has that, I don't know, fresh hop aroma that's hard to replicate. Anyway, let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Oh, that's fucking dynamite. Wow. Wow. I rated Headhunter, and last time I had Headhunter was that review back in 2018. I rated that beer, I think like a 3.75 out of 5. That's where my palate was in terms of, again, West Coast style IPAs, old American IPAs that have, basically back then, I didn't pine for bitterness. I wanted, the sweet, juicy haze bombs. And then sometime over the past 2-3 years, my palate has transitioned into wanting more bitterness, and also I started to really dig different lager styles. Like your palate changes all the time, and mine has changed to the point where this is what I crave. Mine, this is like medium touch over medium, 7.5%. It's fine. The mouthfeel is that old school West Coast mouthfeel, very crisp. It has like a moderate carbonation to it. This is pretty clean overall, very clean beer, which to me lets everything, especially on the finish, just kind of like ride out, and it makes it just infinitely more enjoyable. From the palate, a little bit of bread, a little bit of like a slight caramel kind of sensation from the malt, very slight, dives underneath the palate. It's more bread than caramel. Right after that, the beauty about this beer is that it's not as sweet as the nose indicated. The nose was fantastic, but I don't think I want all that sweet fruit to transfer to the taste, because it would be too sweet then, and then I would complain about it. This isn't balanced, right? But you're getting all the flavors on the palate. They're just not as sweet as the nose indicated. So right up front, I'm getting orange, I'm getting grapefruit, lemon, tons of citrus. And there is some sweetness to it, but it's encompassing most of the fruit. You're talking about the rind, the pith. There's definitely more of like a bittering citrus sensation at the front of the palate from the hops themselves. What the hell? Was that something in the beer? I don't know. Anyway, that's what hits me first with the citrus. After that, midway through the palate, I'm getting what I would say is a little bit of berry, maybe from the Mosaic, like a dank blueberry. Then there's that crushed pineapple. So that's where more of the sweetness hits me, is like kind of the middle of the palate. And then on the finish, it hits me with this moderate and full-on dry, piney, pine sap, resinous kind of hop character. There's a little bit of like it finishes with a touch of like a floral pine, I would say, more than anything. 7.5%, only thing I can tell you as far as like knowing this is a bigger beer is the body and just how this drinks. It's hard to get, aromas and tastes and bodies out of a beer that's, 5.5%. So I know this is bigger from that aspect, but I'm really getting no astringency on the palate, nothing in the chest. So they hide the 7.5 well from an alcohol standpoint. I'm taking my time because I want to crush this, but at 7.5%, I kind of want to take my time with it and enjoy the flavors, because they are meant to be enjoyed. Like, this is not a crushable beer from the aspect of like, it's very simplistic. There's a lot of nuances and complexities to this beer, and I want to savor them. And I just don't want to take them to the dome piece and finish this out and be like done with the beer in 5 minutes, because I don't have another, and I typically only drink one beer a day. So I kind of want to savor this one. So honestly, I'm kind of blown away. I like this as much as I do. I knew going into this I'd like it more than the 3.75 that I gave Head Hunter originally, but this is substantially better than I remember that beer. But again, my palate's in a different place. This just has everything I want from like a West Coast style, but also just an old school American IPA that's wet hopped. I get the fresh hop aroma from the wet hops. Translates and transitions well into the beer taste. It's not overly sweet, has a great balance to it. It has a moderate bitterness and a dryness on the back end, stops this beer from being too sweet, and actually leans it in the other way where it has more of like a bittering, like long finish to it. I don't know. This is really good. If you can get Fatheads in your area, go pick this one up. It should be, by the time you see this review, probably just like just under 5 weeks old or so, or right around 5 weeks old. I'm still, as long as this is kept cold, and you should be fine picking this one up anytime in the next month or so. This is just awesome. So Wet-Hopped Head Hunter from Fatheads. I am going to give this a high 4.5 out of 5. Well, 4.6 out of 5. That is how much I like this beer. I am super stoked, but also surprised that I love this. Shout out to the car going by. Sounds like a piece of shit, but this beer is not. So forget that car. This is the beer. Anyway, price point availability, this is where it gets even better with, price is crazy nowadays. $13.99 a 4-pack, so you're talking $3.50 for a can of that all day, every day. I wish I would have bought a 4-pack. Maybe I'll go back and buy it this week, or at least another can of it, because that's that good. And availability, it's Fatheads. If you see Fatheads in your area, I would assume this one will show up. It might not for everybody, but I picked this one up locally, and we get some of Fatheads, like, seasonals and rotating offerings. There we go. We don't get them all the time, but most of the time I see them. So if you're probably in the Midwest, wherever Fatheads distributes, check and see if this one's available. That's the best thing I can say, because if you like the regular Head Hunter, this is even better. Just fantastic. This is as good, to me, almost as good as their Hop Juju, which is like the double IPA beer that they have been selling for a long time, and that's like my favorite hop forward beer from them. Their super juicy version of that was fantastic, but this is up there. This is definitely better to me than the regular Head Hunter, and if you like the regular Head Hunter, you owe it to yourself to seek this one out. So huge thanks to everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers.